Hello, my name's Clint, and I want to go over some things about what I believe is happening with the laws of physics that some people have pointed out and may or may not have explained uh, in their own words and with sources. One of those people being Ken Wheeler, so this is a shout out to him. And I don't know how much of our ideas line up or not, but I'm writing a book right now, and I thought, the writing the book is taken a long time, and I thought maybe I'd start doing some YouTube videos to show people some of my thoughts and ideas and why I'm thinking along these lines. So I want to first start off with the particle model, which is in every high school and college textbook, and it's pretty standard. You know, they say there's these particles floating about in space. It's called matter, right? And it's made up of different parts. And so really we can look at it as like we have an electron, right? And that goes around the outside of the atom, right? So this makes up the atom. And sorry about my handwriting. I don't have very good handwriting. And we have a proton. And a neutron. Right? And so this is current particle theory, unless you go more advanced, like quantum physics and stuff like that, where they start breaking up the particles themselves. And, what it kind of looks like, just going to erase this, is it's pretty simple, really. They teach you this in a high school and college chemistry class, right? Sort of the basics, where you have what they kind of show as like a sort of ring like this, right? And you have something called a nucleus in the center here. And in the center, you have those protons. And, some neutrons. And then on the outside, is, electrons. And they have different charges. Like the electron is supposed to be a negative, and the proton's positive, right? So positive, negative. And the neutrons don't really have any sort of charge attached to it. So this is kind of like standard Newtonian run-of-the-mill physics. And the way that I want to model it, and I think a lot of people are starting to discover, at least I recognize maybe a few faces on the internet, on YouTube, that have started pointing this stuff out, is the fact that this is only partially correct. In the fact that these things, that the electrons and the protons and neutrons, yes, they are particles, and no, they're not. Well, I shouldn't say that. They're really representations of something that could be considered a particle. And people like to think, well, you know, they're like a round ball floating through space. No, they're not. That's really not what's happening. So I'm going to attempt to discuss what I think is happening. And this is going to be one of several videos on what I believe is going on with the fundamental laws of physics that are not covered in any of your textbooks yet. And like I said, these ideas, I believe, line up with some other people's ideas on YouTube, and they're sort of being discussed now. Anyways, let me get rid of this, and I should get a better eraser. I just picked up this setup with this whiteboard here and these dry erase markers. So I think I might have to get like a microfiber cloth or something to that effect. Maybe a dry eraser. Yeah. So the way that I want to deal with this is, people say the scientists and the physicists say these are particles, and I don't believe they're really, per se, particles necessarily, as much as they are warped space. And I'm going to use some terminology here that I feel is necessary, and it's going to be sort of a lexicon of words. You know, they're not exactly what's used. I think they're loosely used, but I'm going to use them in my repertoire of language here. So I like to call this the vortex model, and I'm going to go into details as to what I mean by a vortex, and I'll tell you why I think it behaves in that way. So the other thing I'm going to use for terminology is going to be the use of the word geospatial, and that's going to make a reference to a lot of things as to what I'm explaining with what's going on. So I want to go back to the atom here and just sort of explain what I think is going on. So we're going to go back to this, and I'm going to put that back up with the typical model, right? With protons, neutrons, and electrons. That's shown as these, if you would, balls. At a fundamental level, this isn't what's really happening. If you take a look at the electron and proton, what is actually happening, the electron, for example, doesn't look like this at all. It looks sort of like, and this is going to be a really bad drawing, sort of like this. With a vortex, like on the top here. And then counter-rotating to this vortex is another vortex going like this. So I'll try to, the drawing's not good, but I'll attempt to do this like this. Okay. So it sort of looks like this, where this is your electron, okay? Isn't that interesting? If you take two vortex looking two vortexes that are flipped on one another like this, it actually kind of looks like it's in the shape of a ball, right? So, but this vortex is rotating in this direction, and this one's counter-rotating. And you would ask, well, why is it doing that? What is happening is the space that is out here is flat space-time. And I use that word loosely because flat space-time would suggest that it has dimensionality to it when it doesn't. And this has almost zero, I'm going to use the word geospatial dimension. This vortex, which kind of goes out like this, right, is basically the space being sucked in like that. Why is it doing that? So what's happening is this counter vortex down here is turning this one, which in turn warps the space around it. So like this, right? If that were your electron. So looking at this further, that's the electron. And right here is no space as well. This is zero geospace, just like it is up here. It's flat space-time. So now the proton, the reason why these two, like, right, they give this a positive and this a negative or whatever. I don't know why they even do that. An electron's negative and a proton's positive. What? What the hell does that even mean? The reason why these two are attracted to each other, they're really not attracted to each other at all. What is happening is, because you have this electron pulling space in different directions, you know, like here, and then you do the same thing here, like that, pulling it towards this zero space, or flat space-time, is because the proton is cohered spatially to this electron. So I'm going to draw the proton now, right? And since this is counter-rotated to this, it does the same thing with the proton. And then the same thing again. Like that. And so you have your proton like that. And that, my friends, is your positive and negative charges in an atom. they're actually vortexes that cohere onto one another and get it spin. That's why it spins. It's because this grabs onto that spatially, geospatially. There's that word again. And so, you know, they say this is the neutron, and what is it? That's supposed to represent like a heavy element. I might come back to this at a later date. I'm not sure if I've even written about the neutron yet, as far as like my geospatial vortex modeling goes. And I might have to think more about that or do more research. But this is the basic premise of an atom, right? So that's an atom, and these are the parts of the atom. So they're not particles at all. What is happening? It's space being twisted and contorted. So, with that in mind, and I'm going to have to use this eraser again, I want to move on to one more thing with this. And then I think that's going to be the end for this video. Because I have a lot to go over. And I'm going to have to do several videos. And to all those who are in you know, the over unity and energy community, 0 point energy, you know, I hope maybe this gives you guys some ideas and helps you out. I don't know if it will or not. I don't even know if I'm correct, but again, these are just my theories after doing a lot of research and experimentations and that sort of thing. So, with that in mind, the geospatial model, I want to move on to the atom, where they say in like your chemistry or physics class, well, we put energy into the atom, whatever that means, and the electron goes to a higher level. What do you mean? Like it jumps up to this other ring? Yes. Well, it has these rings going around. You know, they show the atom again with rings, like these balls are spinning around these rings, or orbits. They call them orbits, right? And they say if you put energy into the atom, into this situation, you know, the electron jumps up another energy level. Really? I don't think so. So what they kind of show is, I'll go back to the Newtonian model. And, you know, mind you, everyone, that I don't really have much of a problem with the Newtonian model. It's worked very well for many things, you know, allopathic medicine, chemistry, you know, standard physics. But if we want to get into this new understanding of physics, we have got to look at it differently. Anyways, so going back to Newtonian here, they show something like this, right? Standard atom, and then the thing like jumps up. So the electron jumps up to another energy level. Like somehow like it just jumped up there. And I think that's incorrect, or it's just less correct. So what I think is going on, I go back to the geospatial model with the vortex. So what is happening is, if you take the electron geospatial model. The space is being pulled in this direction. Okay? And so what happens is, because the space is being warped towards the center of attraction, when the energy is put in to the electron, and I'm not sure if it's put into the electron or the proton, somebody can correct me on this, it doesn't like bump it up. What happens is, at these 0 points in space, flat space-time, and again I use flat space-time as a reference, but 0 space, or some people call it null space, I think. Just in air, space that has no geometry to it, is the way I look at it. What is happening is the energy comes in at a right angle like this. Okay? And this thing, this vortex, rather than going in this direction, starts going like this. So the space goes out like that. And the way that it does that is, you know, it comes in at this direction, and all the energy gets transferred, you know, perpendicular. But it kind of looks like on its way to unfolding the space. You know, it kind of looks like this. Like that. Just like if you were to look at a drain on a bathtub, but you know, the funnel opens up more, like that. That's what's happening with the electron when it goes to a higher energy state. And so then we can do, you know, you can do certain things with it. And I'm not going to get into that, but I'm just trying to go over my model as it relates to the standard model. And with that, I think I said all I needed to say for today. And I think that's it. If I need to add more to this later, at a later date, I will, but I'm going to move on to probably the next subject in my next video. That's going to be a bunch of videos related to this. And that's it. Thank you.